Just the other day, I was on a Discord call with my friends. We were scrolling through the Discord activities, but then we stumbled upon what looked like a mobile Mario Kart ripoff. Curious, of course, we started playing it, as a joke, but then we realized the game is actually fun. The main game mode was basically Mario Kart Battle Mode, where you go around, grab loot boxes, and get weapons from them. Then you use those weapons to kill other players and get on the leaderboard. But unlike Mario Kart Battle Mode, the weapons actually feel distinct, intriguing, and skillful. The maps do feel simple and basic, but they also feel extremely balanced. The other really strange thing was how well all of the elements of the game fit together to make something really fun. And the craziest part was the thing that I thought was holding back the game the most, the driving, I later realized was the most genius and well-designed part of the game. So let's delve deep into why this Mario Kart ripoff is actually a fun game. Now I think the reason the game feels fun is really just because of good game design, and I think there's no better example of this than the weapons. The really weird thing is that the weapons in Smash Karts are actually fun, and it really just comes down to the fact that they all do something distinct and interesting. The nuke, rockets, bullets, cannons, and machine gun all offer different types of shooting potential. You can defend yourself with spikes, mines, or invincibility, or you can throw bombs and fake loot boxes for placeable items. I kinda see this as a direct opposition to Mario Kart, since a lot of the time the weapons in Mario Kart Battle Mode can feel too simple or lackluster. I think a great example of this are the red shell and green shell doing almost the exact same thing. And while I do think Smash Kart's weapons take a lot of inspiration from Mario Kart, I think Smash Karts takes those weapon ideas and expands on them and makes them way more interesting and distinct. But what's really interesting is that while all the weapons feel distinct and intriguing, they're all really balanced. For example, if you want an instant kill, you can use the nuke. But the nuke is balanced out by being hard to aim. You could go with an easier kill using rockets or bullets, since they have more spray to them, but you run the risk of not doing enough damage. Or let's say you need to defend yourself. You could use spikes or mines, but then you can't pick up any more loot boxes. Now don't get me wrong, I don't think all the weapons are perfectly balanced. For example, invincibility is a little unfair, and the machine gun auto-aiming is a little broken even if it doesn't do a lot of damage. Also, the bombshell and fake loot boxes are pretty useless. But the most important thing that I really want to stress about the weapon balancing is that when you're actually playing the game, there's no weapon that feels overpowered, which I really think means the game is just balanced well. Now when I first started playing the game, there was one big glaring problem: the driving. Driving in Smash Karts, to say it bluntly, is really kind of stiff and slow. Now the real reason it feels this way is because the controls are WASD and drifting is automatically handled for you. But the more I played, the more I realized this stiff and slow movement is what makes the game balanced. Now imagine if Smash Karts was super fast-paced, and you could accelerate and decelerate really quickly. It would throw off the entire balance of the game. If the player can move really quickly forward and backwards, hitting a shot with a weapon would be impossible, because players would be able to dodge it super quickly. But if the karts are slow and stiff, and you can't accelerate and decelerate really quickly, then weapons are now not only viable, but fun. This whole idea is essentially what makes the karts balanced. Essentially, if the karts moved any slower, they'd be too easy to hit, and if the karts moved any faster, then they would never be hit. Basically, the speed of the karts feels perfectly calibrated. Now the thing that really sold me on the game are the maps. Now on the surface, the maps are really simple and basic. This is really in contrast to Mario Kart, where you get all these crazy moving maps. The desert with the shifting sands comes to mind. But while the maps in Smash Karts may feel simple and basic, that doesn't mean they're not well designed. What makes the maps well designed is that they force player interaction. The best example of this is that on most maps, the largest concentration of loot boxes tends to be in the middle of the map, and it tends to be the most wide open area. And some maps are made really small, so that there's nowhere to hide and you can't just camp all game. And one thing I noticed on a lot of maps is that some of them have narrow pathways, where the player could risk it for a loot box and an easy kill, or they could get caught without a weapon and die easily. All of those things that I just mentioned about the maps are what make them so well designed. Like I said before, the maps are designed so that they force player interaction. And that lets players focus on the main aspect of the game, shooting and killing your friends. What I find really funny about the game though is just how well all of the elements come together. Me and my friends started playing this game through Discord, and it's always just worked. I know that sounds like a weird thing to give Smash Karts credit on, but I find nowadays that a lot of games have so many issues to the point where you can't even get in the game. This is especially prevalent with multiplayer games. I'm looking at you, Rocket League. So I think for Smash Karts, an online game, to just work all of the time, I think is something worth praising. And it's not just that it works all the time, but also it just feels fun and balanced. The driving, while stiff, has really grown on me, and I realized it's what makes the game feel balanced, fun, and enjoyable. And the weirdest thing for me is that I never find myself complaining about the maps. The maps just feel well designed, and the weapons and gameplay just feel fun. Overall, the game just works and it's fun, and I feel like that's all the game needs to accomplish. And surprisingly, all of these good things came out of what looks like a Mario Kart ripoff. But to me, it really goes to show that looks don't matter in a game, and what really matters is if players find your game fun. And if they do, then as a game developer, you've done your job. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'm out.